At this point, we may not be concerned with this at our ages, but our children may be, that we will soon, with the program the way it is, that Medicare and Social Security will soon run out of money. Now, as I say, that concern is not so much for me at my age, but for my children and their children.
Well, it is a wonderful question. So let me talk just about the finances of the health care bill, Medicare, and I'll throw in Social Security in there. We have a genuine long-term problem, and I can describe it very simply. We've got a population that's getting older, so you're going to see a bulge in the number of people who are using Medicare and Medicaid, more recipients, fewer workers to support those programs. We've got more money going out and less money coming in, and that's going to worsen over time. Now, that has nothing to do with the health care bill. That has to do with the fact that we've got an aging population and health care inflation. The cost of the additional cost of health care each year is going up much faster than overall inflation and how fast wages and taxes, et cetera, are growing, right? So you've got this gap between how much we're going to need for Medicare and Social Security versus how much is actually coming into the programs. That has to be fixed. Now, one way to fix it would be to just say, we're just going to cut benefits. You know, if there's going to be a gap between how much Medicare is going to cost and how much we actually have, we just say, you know what? Each of you, we're going to have to eliminate some benefits. You get fewer prescription drugs. You got to pay higher copays. You got to, certain procedures won't be covered, or maybe some people won't be covered, or we'll raise the eligibility when you qualify for Medicare. I mean, there are a bunch of adjustments that could be made that essentially come down to cutting benefits. That's one way of dealing with rising costs of Medicare. Another way, which we think is the smarter way, is to say, where are we getting good value for our money? Where are we not getting good value for our money? How can we design Medicare so that we're reducing the costs that are skyrocketing, but people are actually getting better care? Are there ways that we can do that? For example, can we have one test instead of 5 tests, have that one test emailed to everybody so that Medicare is not paying for 5 tests? Can we arrange so that because we've got a good primary care physician, you make one visit to the doctor's office and all the specialists come to that one office as opposed to you having to make 5 different visits? Are there ways in which we can use best practices for certain diseases so that we're catching them sooner? It's cheaper to care for than when you've really gotten sick. So what we tried to do in this health care bill is actually see how can we make the health care system as a whole smarter, more efficient for everybody, including young people, not just for seniors, because obviously health starts, the healthier you are when you're younger, odds are the healthier you're going to be as you get older. So are there ways that we can, through preventive care, better efficiencies, better management, make the healthcare system overall more effective? Because if we can do that, then that starts controlling the cost of Medicare, and it won't go bankrupt as quick. A lot of those changes are what we introduced in our healthcare bill. Okay? Now, in addition, the healthcare bill overall, because of us eliminating some of those subsidies to insurance companies that I mentioned, actually are going to save $1 trillion out of our deficit over the long term. $1 trillion, that's with a T. It's a lot of money. So when you hear arguments out there that, well, you know what, we couldn't afford this health care bill, folks who are saying that they didn't read the bill. Because according to the Congressional Budget Office, this will actually reduce the deficit, reduce costs by making the system smarter, making it more efficient. That in turn means that Medicare will be there longer. Now, the one thing I want to say about both Medicare and Medicaid, though, this health care bill alone doesn't solve all our problems. And I don't want to over-advertise. The truth of the matter is it's very hard to change a healthcare system that involves millions of patients, tens of thousands of doctors, hospitals, all those systems all across the country. You know, trying to manage that all from the top is just too hard. What we try to do is create new incentives, find who's doing the best job treating what, advertise those best practices so that other people start adapting them, and over time, that trickles throughout the system so that the system overall gets more efficient. That's what we're trying to do, and that's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over the course of a decade, maybe 2 decades in some cases, before we're actually going to be able to solve this problem overall. But what I want you to tell those friends of yours is that the long-term fiscal implications of Medicare, the only way to fix those are to what's called bend the cost curve, make healthcare more efficient. The other alternative, which is often the one that is presented by our Republican colleagues, is to essentially voucherize the system. I mean, that's been the main proposal that they've got that was presented during this debate in terms of saving Medicare. And what that basically means is, you know what, we're going to give you a set amount. Let's just hypothetically, we'll give you $5,000. You go buy your own health insurance on the private market instead of getting Medicare. But think about it. What happens, you get $5,000 and it turns out the costs are $10,000. That comes out of your pocket. And then the next year, the costs are $12,000, and maybe they gave you an adjustment on inflation adjustment, so now you get $5,500, but the cost for the same quality care you're getting under Medicaid is $12,000. I mean, there's an easy way to make it look like you're solving the problem. You just dump it on other people. And what we're trying to do is actually solve the problem by making the healthcare system more efficient. That's going to be harder, but it's fairer, it's more just, it's going to keep the commitment and the promise of Medicare for years to come. Okay?